Let's call this series Chasing the Drone. I recently installed the DynoMax Ultra Flow exhaust system in the Jeep Grand Cherokee. I listened to 3 exhaust systems outside the vehicle: the Corsa, the Borla, and the DynoMax. And that's pretty much how they're priced too. The Corsa is about $1,600 and up. The Borla is about $1,300, and DynoMax, and you get what you pay for here, about $600. So, but I did like the sound outside the car, so I went ahead and I bought the DynoMax Ultra Flow and installed it. And the inside drone for my first road trip was just headache inducing. I mean, in the cabin noise at a constant ooh was so loud. When I measured it, it was about 74 decibels. So it was a constant, just like it yelling at you the whole time. It was horrible. So I attempted a few things to kind of quiet it down. The first thing I did was I installed some fat mat in the back wheel well of the car, thinking that, well, the mufflers, are in the back of the vehicle, and that's probably where the bulk of the noise is coming from. So let me go ahead and install some fat mat there to help kind of sound deaden that area, and it did nothing for the noise from the mufflers. So the next thing I did was I had a whole lot of fat mat. So let's pull up the seats and we'll coat the whole thing from the front of the cabin all the way through the back seats. Now I got a fat mat covering the entire underneath the carpets of the entire length of the vehicle, and it had you can tell when you tap on the vehicle that it's a lot more solid under that area, that there's no reverberation of sound. So it is doing its job, but it's just not enough to quiet the interior of the cabin from the exhaust noise. So then I took it to a local custom exhaust shop and discussed it with them, and they made a recommendation to cut out the small resonator mufflers that were installed and to put in these MagnaFlows, a little bit larger exhaust mufflers. Go ahead and get those welded in, because there's a lot more packing in there. It will help deaden some of that underfloor cabin noise. And it actually did muffle a lot more of the noise coming directly under the driver and passenger side floorboard. So that helped, but it didn't really do enough for the droning. I took a 7-hour road trip out and back to Tennessee, and at about 75 miles an hour, the droning got really bad again. But still, when you're between 45 and 55, about 1,500 RPMs, and you're just trying to maintain your speed, as an example, let's say you're doing 48 miles an hour, and you have a slight incline in the road. So you press on the gas just a little bit to make sure you're maintaining your speed. Then the drone kicks in, and then you can hear the drone, right, as it kind of downshifts to get you up to speed. The droning kicks in. So that is annoying. So I took it back to the exhaust shop that I went to and discussed it with them, and their recommendation was to put in some small J-pipes and then back the J-pipes up with a couple of MagnaFlow cherry bombs, the small ones. And so they went ahead and they cut through the exhaust pipe, and they welded in these little J's with the cherry bombs on. And I gotta say that alone probably did more for the lower RPM droning than installing the MagnaFlow mufflers up in front. Now, I'm sure they both help, right? But you could notice the lower RPM drone get kind of squashed a lot more after that was done. So maybe it did require both of them. I have no idea. Now, when I'm at 75 miles an hour and above, there's no noticeable difference whatsoever. You still have some drone in the car. Not enough to piss you off, but again, on a long road trip, it just kind of wear on your nerves a little bit. And because I usually don't listen to the radio in the car or anything, it's just quiet, I pick up that drone noise a lot more. When my wife's in the car, and there's any droning, and we're on any length of a road trip, she's not happy because of the excess noise. But realistically, it's not overboard. It's just a constant, and I guess that's the thing, right? It's a constant drone that causes the irritation, if you will. Anyway, so that's the situation today. I'm not going to do anything more to the exhaust system. It is what it is. Oh, and I also had the custom exhaust company. They put in a little spacer in one of the pipes too, because I could never get those exhaust tips to line up properly. One would line up, the other one would line up. You drive around for a little bit, and then all of a sudden one's not lined up anymore. It was driving me crazy. So they went ahead and put like a little piping spacer in between part of the exhaust so that they could properly line up, and they tested me at both of them, and they properly lined up the exhaust tips and welded it all together. So now everything's back to normal. Short story, I do not recommend whatsoever the DynoMax Ultra Flow. If you want it to be installed in a daily driver, considering how much money I've spent in the exhaust system and just chasing this drone issue, right there, I probably could have paid for the Borla. Both trips to the exhaust company to install the front mufflers and then do the J-pipes on the back, that was like $300 a trip. And then $100 to do the DynoMax. I bought $100 worth of DynoMax, so I'd have enough to cover the entire vehicle. I still have a little bit more matting left over. I'm thinking about doing the rear door and the rear fenders at least. And then if I have any additional, maybe I'll just do the whole doors, get it all done. Why not? So that's the situation with the drone. I've gone as far as I'm gonna go. If I need to do anything else, or if I am just too frustrated, and unfortunately I got rid of the stock exhaust system already, or I probably would have put that back on, but if I can't, if it still drives me crazy after a while, I'm definitely gonna have to just bite the bullet and go ahead and buy the course on top of it. So, you know, lessons learned. Hopefully you don't fall into the same situation. That's why I'm hoping you're watching this video and you kind of realize some of the pain that I've gone through and the extra expense in just trying to quiet the system down. You know, if it's not your daily driver, you might not notice it nor care. But it is a daily driver for me, and when we take road trips, it is one of the bigger vehicles. So this is the vehicle we take for road trips. So my wife's in the car, we have dogs, they're in the car, and we just can't put up with the constant droning going on inside the vehicle. It just does wear on you. Again, cannot recommend the DynoMax Ultra Flow whatsoever. If you're going to look at getting exhaust, or you want to change out your exhaust in your Jeep Grand Cherokee, definitely look at the Corsa and Borla as your first thing. Or, you know, take it to an exhaust shop that does, you know, performance exhaust systems, and have a conversation with them on what can be done. Anyway, that's my story.